Good morning, everyone. First thing, I hope that you attended the class meeting today at the very beginning of class where I went through the specific slides 110 all the way through 113 because this information, you're going to be expected to include that in the answers for today's assignment. Today's assignment is kind of a mixture between assignment and assessment. So this is a pretty big deal. As you look, it is 36 points, and the point values for each question are written nearby. I'm going to go through each one with clarification to tell you exactly what I'm looking for. Okay? Um, Before I get into each question, I am going to remind you of what tools you have available to you. They are all attached below. A couple of these you should have attached to your name. So, once again, now you're taking everything and you're using certain pieces to give me a thorough, solid answer. First thing that I'd like you guys to do to give you some perspective is to read this story. It's very short, but it's a perspective of a person who lives in Bangladesh. So just simply read that, and that's all you have to do with it. It'll come up later. It'll come up later, so definitely make sure that you read it because it'll also help you to get better value and better understanding of these vocab words that I'm giving you today. Rather than having you transfer them into your vocab document like I've been doing, as well as into your notes, you're going to simply use those correctly in this assignment. And I'll explain what all that looks like. I have also attached tools that you have been given on past assignments as reference. So I'm expecting you to use these again. And again, each question has specific tools that I want you to use for them. So read each question carefully and make sure that you give me a thorough answer. So with that, the idea now is for you guys to apply numbered statistics to unit vocabulary, not just from today, but since we started our looking at economic systems and their government connection. Now you can apply numbered statistics to it and explain how international trade promotes division of labor and specialization. So like services, agriculture, industry. Basically, how does international trade promote that and lead to specialization of products? I mean, if you remember what we did last year, specialized products are unique to a certain area. Because this ultimately increases the productivity of labor, the total world output, consumption, and increases the overall worldwide standard of living. So this is the goal that you're trying to demonstrate for me. It fits into our overall learning goal for this unit, but this is definitely a simplified version. For part A, use the unit 3, which is this. Use the unit 3, blah, 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 and slides 108 to 113 as a reference. You are not responsible for the prompt box contents on page 1. That is this at the very, very top of the page. Do not worry about this. You may read it, it's beneficial, but this is not what the focus is of the assignment. What we're doing is something similar, but not completely this. So you are not responsible for this. For the first question, using your understanding of the words of the vocab words and the statistics for each country, which country appears to be most healthy for its citizens? So again, you're going to have to look through these contents. These are the countries that I'm talking about. There's country A, B, and C. So you're going to have to look at documents 1, 2, and 3 to fully understand which one's the most healthy. And again, this is explained in the directions. You will also definitely want to use those slides that I've pointed out. So slide 108 all the way up through 113. I will say you can go back and you can look at other slides from the past. I don't care. Quite frankly, I encourage that because it ultimately will help you give a more thorough answer. These vocab terms are the most directly involved. But all the other stuff still is relevant as well. You may use a calculator for this one. How you figure this question out is instructed in the parentheses. For the imports of each country, place each of them in the appropriate economic sector that you feel that they belong. So you're going to actually have to look at the document, and you are going to have to determine, based off of their imports and exports, where do they belong? In services, industry, agriculture. For number 4, which imports or exports did you feel belonged in multiple economic sectors for your country? You need to just give me at least one for every country. So, what is the import or the export? Or is it an import or an export? What is the product? Which service sectors, meaning more than one, do you feel that they belong? And then you need to explain why. I'm looking for a complete thought. A lot of you have been doing just fine with that, but then there's some of you that are still only giving me 1 to 2 word answers, and that's not going to work. So again, how can you apply the vocab words into your answers? For this one, based on the imports and exports of each country, explain why you think the imports might actually be costing the country more money than the exports they are trading, or why do you think the exports are bringing more money in than their imports are costing them? So you're going to look at each country, and you are specifically going to look and see what they're importing, what they're exporting, and whether you think that it is making them money or it is costing them money. So there are 2 possible ways to answer it, and again, that's how you interpret the data. Be sure to include at least 1 example to support your thinking. There are 2 ways to answer it. You're going to need to look at each country and determine if their exports are costing more money than they are making, or if their exports are costing more money, or they're gaining them more money than their imports are costing them, or if their imports are costing them more than they are making with their exports. For number 6, what economic data statistic, meaning these are your answers. And again, these are the words that we went through at the beginning of class today. Oops, and I just messed up. But which of those do you feel is the most connected to the GDP per capita? And be sure to explain what that is. And I'm going to reopen my slides. For this one, what considerations of caution do you need to remember when you are viewing a country's GDP? In the slide on GDP and GDP per capita, which I think is 109 or 110. But on that slide, this link is also there, but you can click on it. Make sure that you watch it before you answer this question. Otherwise, you're going to be missing a lot of details. So you need to give me the considerations of caution that you need to remember when viewing a country's GDP in this box. And then B, why is it important to recognize and account for these factors? So basically explain and then analyze or give me the significance. For these questions on part B, your answers need to be well constructed and detailed. If you read each of these, there's a lot of different factors. These are basically like word problems. Your use of vocab is going to be really important for these. And again, go back through and look at this data as much as you need. Look at the location. Think about the physical geography of these areas. So you can use all of these tools that I provided for today's task. You can use them as much as you need to. They are there for you to use. If you notice here on question 9, I specifically pointed out a couple of slides that I want you to make sure that you include because they're all related to the word problem that I have provided you here. Read each question carefully. Part B is going to require much more critical thinking, but Part A also has a little bit of critical thinking as well. This last part is only going to qualify, you're only going to qualify for the extra credit if you successfully complete Parts A and B. And that will involve you rereading the Bangladesh development problems that I told you to do at the very, very beginning. And then follow this prompt. What's in bold, you need to put in your final answer. So just follow the directions as you can see it. You could get a total extra of 5 points. If you have any questions, my meet is open all day. This is still going to be due Thursday at midnight. So you were given access to this on a Tuesday morning at 8:20 a.m. roughly, and this is still going to be due at Thursday at midnight. So please make sure that you are accountable to that deadline. I think that's everything that you need to be successful for this. I know it's a lot, so take your time, but don't save it until the very last minute because you need to use so many different pieces of information to construct your answers. So get started now. I'm here to help, but you've ultimately got to take the first steps. Have fun with it.